And here we go. As soon as it says live, we'll get started. Probably should do this before I start with you guys. It's coming. It's coming.
I'm seeing live.
You're going to see it quicker than me. Hey, Scott, how are you tonight? Good.
Hungry and eating.
You eat your dinner. I won't bug you too much. So
It's okay. I'll just bug you. I'll talk with my mouth full and everything.
there you go. That's how we are in family. So I totally get that. Well, welcome everyone, real quick, to the Super Easy Beginners class. My name is Jenny Baker, and I am a coach inside of Super Easy. Just a couple of things before we get started. What we're going to do today, first off, as you guys know, please don't trade what y'all can't afford to lose. Same disclaimer, everyone's got it. This is a high risk activity, although you can have really amazing results as well. So, my favorite, my go-to, the $1 million today or penny doubled. This to me is profound. This to me is like life changing for those who have the ears to hear and the eyes to see, just like the audio we were listening to. This is the exact topic. And this goes into every area of your life. So if you've never seen it, look it up. Pretty awesome. How to compound. Again, this looks super elementary, but I feel like the more traders I get to know and the more YouTubes we watch and the different levels of professionalism and knowledge that we get to interact with on the daily, I really feel like most of these rules get, lost in the sauce. They get so easily forgotten and overlooked. And when it comes down to it, successful trading is simply successful rules. So now that is all we went through our disclaimer and everything, I'm going to pull this up just to kind of show you what we're doing. And I will edit this. I just downloaded it actually off of online to have a better version than the online version. But moving forward, every time we do one of these super easy beginner simplicity calls specifically, just like we do in our scalping group, I want to keep track of how many pips we win, lose, and draw, right? It's a little bit harder to do that because we're using different time frames and so many different pairs, and the values of pairs are different, broker to broker, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, we're going to have some pretty basic fundamental rules that we can always kind of count on is the norm. Now, where we can't guarantee what time frame we looked at, we can say if this pair broke structure, by at least, I don't know, one ATR for that time frame, that is a loss, right? Period. We can say that as long as the pair moved at least half of the ADR on those higher time frames or 1.25 ATR on those lower time frames, that's a win, because at that point you should have protected, scaled out, or done some kind of action, or like we do in our other groups, use management that is going to make sure you are profitable on that trade. So this is going to be rounded to the most actualized pips, and what we'll do is we'll kind of keep a key on this so there's no question of what is a pip. We know that that's a very variable discussion, right? But on the second, which is technically, it's the first, but it's recorded the second UTC time, that's 3 o'clock chart time. We looked at 10 pairs, 3 entries, 1 loss, 6 wins altogether. These pairs moved over 745 pips. So on a standard, we know that's worth about $7,450 in a week, right? Not bad. The following Tuesday, we didn't go live. We just kind of reviewed those trades and looked for 2 others. Those 2 really haven't taken off yet. We can blame it on the news. We can blame it on whatever. But needless to say, both of them gave back more than 90 pips, guys, between the 2 of them. Only 2 pairs. Let me mute that. Hey, Stacy. Gotcha. So 180 pips, as you guys know, with one standard, that's $1,800. So not a bad way to be for literally a few minutes of your time last Tuesday night. And then don't touch it. Don't freak out. Preferably have management and then go on with your life, right? That's the kind of thing we're trying to show with simplicity and everything else. So does not spend so much time on this. I'm going to hit stop share. We're going to go ahead and go to the chart, look for a couple of trades. If you have questions, comments, or pairs, put that in the chat now. It's going to make it way, way easier at the end to versus say, hey, 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 are you there? So, ta-da! You guys know this very well. Hugo's Way. This is the Hugo's Way broker. Y'all know that this is a demo account. We just use it for teaching and preaching, and that's it. So let's take a look at, I'm trying to make sure y'all can see that it's a demo account, but it may or may not let you. We mess with it today a little bit. Okay, so I've got a list currently. I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 potential setups. Today is June 15th in terms of actual time, but you can see this says 6:16 at 3 o'clock because that's UTC time. I have these vertical lines on my chart just to keep track. So when we go through and we're trying to count pips, we know what we're doing, but just to kind of keep everything on the up and up. So USD CAD we did look at a week ago. And remember that was June 2nd, technically, UTC time. So I'm going to have to zoom this out a little bit, make it a little bit more ugly to see June 2nd, 3 o'clock is this line. We would have to wait for it to break that fractal for us to enter. In that time frame, we've moved over 120 pips, right? 127. Not to say you would have caught all of those, but not a bad way to be, right? Definitely good, kind of really good risk to reward ratio. We never broke a lower low. That's a valid trade. We definitely hit at least half of the ADR. We definitely hit several ATR. So that's definitely a winning trade. And then the next one that we looked at last Tuesday was GBP odd. This one, on the other hand, has not moved yet, really. It did give us some pips, but it hasn't moved kind of beautifully. So, again, we're looking for... Oh, that's not the second. I was like, wait a minute, that's off. Sorry, I'm going to go back because I just made a mistake. We're talking about the calls we made last week, which was not the second. That's the 8th. Let's see. That's this candle. Makes more sense. I was like, that should have been 90 some odd-ish pips. So you guys see the point. Just to kind of, again, keep consistent with what we're doing to the best of our human, ability. And then GBP odd was the other one we looked at. We just had 2 trades. That's it. We're not trying to overdo it. A couple of minutes at a time. We're looking for technically the 8th. Let's see. Got that. So we're looking for when it broke that fractal. So when it broke the fractal, that still made you your... I don't know, I measured it before class, so now we're going to have to zoom in and find exactly just so we can prove what we're doing. Let's try this again. So the last Tuesday was the 8th, so that's the 9th. That's the candle we're looking for is the 9th. That's 7. That's 8. It's technically the 9th. So we're waiting for the break of this fractal, right? That happened right here. Was the break of that fractal. So coming all the way down, you've got about 88 on that one. Still not a bad way to be, probably slightly more with that wick that we just can't see because it's off screen. But just so you guys can see, we didn't make a higher high. That's a valid winning trade. It hit at least half of the ADR and a few times the ATR. That's all we're looking for. We're not looking for perfection. So that's just real quick to review last week's trades. I'm going to minimize all these little heads. I don't usually keep those open, but I will pull up the chat. And since we're not live on YouTube, we don't have to worry about that. And that's kind of nice. But coming here. So first one I'm going to look at, you guys have to know that tomorrow is the USD big news. So trade accordingly, right? There are some USD setups that are happening, but you have to decide what you're going to risk knowing there is huge news tomorrow. Knowing that the market could swing either way. You could be right and obviously win and have a ton of pips in your favor. You could also be wrong. And because of the news, it could, blow the account. So just know that if you're going to take USD pairs, it's totally up to you at the end of the day. First one I am going to retake and I'm still in is USD CAD. And the reason why, now that we're done with that analysis, is come to the 4-hour time frame. So USD CAD 4-hour time frame, we have a beautiful simplicity signal. Kind of we broke out, came back and retested, hovered around the 50 moving average. We're officially kind of breaking out and making higher highs. So currently we're bouncing off my 250, right? And if anybody does the math, we know what that would equal on the daily time frame. We know what numbers these are, on the kind of, for those of you who use 8 hours and 12 hours and trading and all that other good stuff. So where price currently is not a good entry point. I'm not saying that this is where we should enter. What I am saying is 4-hour time frame, we definitely have some room and your risk to reward to kind of come back up to structure in around approximately 300-ish pips versus 170, give or take, right? You're close to that 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio even if you entered here. As for me, I don't want to enter here. I want to go to a baby time frame. Let this kind of come down a little bit. Take a baby time frame re-entry and trade this up at a minimum to let's see, from where price is currently at. My minimum is going to be kind of right here. So that's about 80 pips from where price is currently at. Target of 1.2262. 1.2262. Of course, I'd expect a reaction here. Wait for it to kind of pull back and again, kind of come up a little bit more. So you'll notice next that most of these pairs are mostly CAD, and we can't be in all the CAD trades at the same time. So next one on the list, Remember, we're not taking that until, let's clarify. Actually, before I move on, let's clarify. No argument, no complaints. So you're either taking it at the break of the fractal. Okay, let's go down to time frame, which means I'm going to go ahead and turn these vertical lines off now that we don't need them for measuring purposes. Edit. I'll go to input to visualize. Let's take them off of the, we'll keep them on the 30-minute, that's fine. There we go. So get them out of our way a little bit. 1 hour time frame, we needed this to either break this current fractal or we're waiting for this to retest and get us a better entry on a smaller time frame. The better case scenario is the retest because this could come all the way down in here before we get the continuation, if we get the continuation. So by no means am I saying we're taking this entry. I'm saying when we get confirmation by either the break of this area of structure or a retest in a smaller time frame signal, we're going to take this up for another 80, ish pips, potentially up to 300. So next pair is CAD CHF. Dun, dun, dun. 4 hour time frame. I'm going to zoom out and make this really ugly, kind of get some of the question aside. For those of you guys who have eyes to see, you guys have multiple M formations on this. They have not really all played out. There's divergence for those of y'all who use oscillators. There's quite a few confirmations as to why we should be looking at this as a potential sell. Now, mind you, 4 hour time frame, we've already made a sizable move. I'm again not saying this is the safest place to enter. I'm saying as a swing trade, even if we just took a blind entry here based off of candle formations, based off of structure, your stop loss is 160-ish pips for potential of about 320. So again, that's that 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio, right? That's all we really need. We don't need to have a whole bunch more. And if we really wanted to analyze this on a smaller kind of basis, this M formation has not quite played out. We still have at least kind of the structure to the left. So even from where price is currently at, we got your safe 50-ish pips, at least one ADR. And of course, if we break the center of this formation, I would be looking for that kind of measured move, going off of the smaller of the two sides, 270, which again brings us all the way down to here. That's 0.69, 0.6982. Okay, so somewhere in around there. Now this is not going to play out. As you guys can see, this is not going to play out in a day. This is probably not going to play out in a week. This is going to take time to give us that many pips. But for example, this is kind of your overall target, which is a pretty big target. Oopsie, really good risk to reward ratio. Not bad at all. So how you guys decide to enter this again, this is not about, well, Jenny said, or YouTube said, or Simplicity said, or Uncle P, or the guy next door for that matter. This is about having the ownership to do your own analysis, to say, hey, I see this trade, I see the setup. Now I need to decide where I'm going to enter. So where you're going to enter is, this is a bigger time frame. If it breaks a fractal, you can say, hey, I'm going to take the breakout trade. If you want to wait for the tighter kind of better entry, you'd be waiting for this to kind of pull up, retest one of the bigger kind of slower moving averages. You'd be waiting for a reentry on the golden strategy. You'd be waiting for a simplicity kind of Warren 15, as Uncle P teaches, something along those lines to kind of take this as a kind of slightly tighter stop loss, but definitely in the same direction. Otherwise, if you're lazy, I don't want to use the word lazy, but if you're unsure or unfamiliar with those other styles, just take the break. And there you go. Still not a bad risk to reward at all. So that's USD CAD, check, CAD Chef. Again, you're going to notice most of these are CAD pairs, which, guys, we can't take every single CAD pair. We have to pick and choose. So next few ones we go over, you'll notice that they have conflicting signals on the 1 hour to the 4 hour time frame. So that means the different time frames are not in agreement. Doesn't mean it's a bad trade. It just means it's going to kind of trend differently. It's your indication that one of the time frames is obviously it's misleading, it's off, or it's already played out, it's late to the party. So just know that. Odd CAD 4 hour time frame, we're still kind of sitting at the bottom. We have not really broken out from where price is currently at now. That's that fainted gray line up to previous structure. That's 885 pips. That's double the ADR. Not a bad setup at all. Risk to reward on this one, even if you just took it as is not as good as 1-to-1. So not great. But again, this wouldn't be my only target. I'd be kind of looking to go a little bit higher. So Either way, how you take this again, you're either waiting for the break of this fractal, you're waiting for the continuation, or you're waiting for this to test down. If we count any of these pips, we'll be counting them at the break. This way you guys know you not only had the chance to get in at a better entry and get more pips, but this way it's documentable, consistent, and duplicatable, right? That's the concept of what we're doing. So odd CAD for the buy. You'll notice 1 hour time frame. We kind of already had the buy play out. Got a false sell. High likelihood that we might kind of push down a little bit before we get this breakout. So you can take the break of the 1 hour fractal, which is going to be a little bit closer, obviously, than the 4 hour fractal. But totally up to you at the end of the day on how you want to enter that. So odd NZD. 1 hour time frame again. Beautiful kind of perfect sell signal. What is that? Hold on. Odd NZD. I have that written down as a sell. Okay, so I have that written down as a sell, but of course I have notation next to it. And I have that big hole with confirmation. So let's discuss this one real quick. Australian dollar, let's zoom out. Nice kind of big move to the downside. Impulse here to drop. We've given all of it back plus broke higher. I am not in any shape, way, or form saying we should sell this long term. I am not in any shape, way, or form saying that this buy is done because I believe it will continue for a decent, sizable amount of time. So we definitely have some room to kind of pop back up again. But smaller time frame analysis, can we get on a slow moving pair a couple of safe pips out of this? Yes, we can. So 1 hour time frame. I better write the 1 hour too, because the rest of these are 4 hour mostly. 1 hour. 1 hour time frame. Let's zoom in now a little bit so we can see the candles are not so ugly. You'll see this beautiful kind of M formation. We broke out, made a lower low, right? We've already broken past here. We broke that trend line. If you can kind of envision that trend line, broke beyond it. We've officially retested it. We're making springs in both directions. Price now sits in between this kind of zone, both of these springs. So when it breaks here, you should be in this trade. If you want a slightly tighter entry with a slightly tighter stop, that's only a 3, you can round up 30 pip stop, right? That's not bad at all. For what? There's my Scott. 40 pips. That's still better than a 1-to-1, guys. I'm going to keep that right there where Scott drew that line. That's perfect. Break, and you'll notice this retest. When people take the breaks of trend lines, they always forget the retest is usually higher than the breaking point. It's bigger. That's kind of perfect. Not that I trade that way exactly, but I love seeing that way. So I love seeing it. It's just confluence for me. But yes, that's what I'm looking on. Current candle is bearish. Pretty sure. Scott's showing his structure box. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. It'll probably mess up those drawings a bit. But yeah, that's all I'm looking for, is for us to break here. You can decide to say, hey, if this next candle closes as a bearish candle, I'm going to take this too. He's drawn all of his boxes. Price broke out, wicked back up to this breakout point. Inside candle, technically. That's an inside candle from here. A lot of ways to see this without overcomplicating the simplicity stuff. Just learning to trust simplicity as a system. Learning, Uncle Pete teaches that look so easy your teenager could do it. And what if we could prove that? Like, what if we could show people, hey, you don't have to know all the rest of the stuff. You don't have to get perfect. You do need to have good management. That's this ATM right here, right? You do need to have good rules, and you need to have some self-control. You can't be in every stinking trade, and you can't be over leveraged per pair either, but you can actually do this. So again, that's odd NZD for the sell. I'm going for at least, this is a small ADR on the 1 hour time frame, so I'm going for a couple, at least 2 ADR on this trade. Definitely not a hard target to hit, even from where price is currently at. Gray line, 60, not bad. That's going to be all the way down to here. 75 here. Not bad. Are we going to get all 2 ADR out of this? I don't know. Tomorrow's news, we'll see how this kind of moves. But will you definitely at least get your 1 ADR? Yeah, you'll get your 1 ADR. You can't say guaranteed, not allowed to say that. But if from where price is or the fractal break, you'll see that easily. So CAD JPY, again, disclaimer, a lot of CAD pairs are setting up. We have to be smart enough to know we can't be in all of them. You will over leverage your account, and then you'll either win really big and you'll feel good and then make a mistake next time, or you're going to lose really big and then you won't have an account for next time. So one of those two things is going to happen for sure. CAD JPY, 4-hour time frame. Probably should take the fractals off. It would make this a little bit cleaner and prettier. Beautiful impulse move, failing to make a higher high. Tons of support. We broke below. We're not making a lower low yet. This is not a really confirmed trend change yet. So again, kind of the same concept. I've got that big with confluence next to my notes. I'm going to zoom back in and kind of show this in terms of the kind of the bigger picture. Impulse move, we're retesting that now. We break this fractal 4-hour time frame. We're taking this trade. I'm taking this trade more accurately. So from that fractal, can we at least get one ADR pretty safely? So I'll know to protect my trade at one ADR, right? That's from here, right? I'm looking over here to the left. That's approximately a little over two, barely over two ADR, just to come down to here. I'm not looking for this to trend down forever to be the all-time reversal, although I'd like to see it come down anywhere in here. I'd love to see this kind of come down and retest structure. My first take profit's going to be somewhere around 89.21. My next one is kind of going to be in this zone. If you guys can see where price stopped here and price stopped here, both of these two places, that's about 200-ish pips, 88.34, give or take. My final one's about 300 pips away. Not bad. We could also come all the way down to here, not guaranteed, but 300 pips, I'd be pretty happy compared to an 80, 90 pip stop loss. So not bad for a 4-hour trade. Not bad. Plus, keep in mind this pair is worth a little bit less, a little bit less. But I'm selling that one. Euro CAD. Too many CAD pairs, y'all. Way too many CAD pairs. But you guys know the drill. So USD CAD, we already talked about we're buying. The other CAD pairs, we already talked about we're selling. Euro CAD, I'm sure you can assume we're looking for the buy. This one is consolidated, hasn't quite broken out, hasn't quite moved as much as some of the other Euro pairs, as well as the Canadian pairs. So for correlation reasons, this is not a bad trade. For correlation reasons, this has some room to move. Now, are we going to get the entire setup with this nice, beautiful, J high, J low buy? Nope, we're not. We can't guarantee we're going to get all 186 pips out of this. But again, just to be able to protect it or close out even at 180R to have a management kind of trailing you in and out of this trade, not bad at all. So stop loss is at structure. On this one is way down here. You can have it a little bit tighter. I definitely wouldn't choose here. I'd definitely be looking for this kind of looser side. Same kind of concept. Currently, as we speak, we're breaking the recent fractal. As we speak right now, that's already happening on this 4-hour time frame. We're rejecting off of the higher time frame moving averages, big moving averages. I'm just looking to protect up to that 50 to 100-ish pips. That's easy. That's in the bag. That's
From
100.
a currency strength point of view, this is pretty decent. Euro's got some juice right now, and to about the same degree that CAD is looking ugly. So
I haven't actually used a currency strength indicator since forever, but thank you. So you heard it there. So the currencies, a different way of saying it, the other euro pairs have moved, but this one hasn't yet. So it's got some room, y'all. What about JPY? How strong is JPY?
have a look. I'll do CAD against JPY. They're both selling, but JPY is closer to neutral.
To the euro or to the CAD?
To everything. So the yen is just slightly below neutral. So it's closer to neutral, and CAD is selling, which makes that when you have one pair or one symbol that's neutral and the other that is pushing an extreme, that tends to be smoother price action than if you have one that's really strong and one that's really weak. It'll be less volatile.
Mm-hmm.
So you get some smoother action.
Hopefully less wiki kind of fake you out moments. Okay, so euro JPY 4-hour time frame. Again, same concept with the other kind of JPY pair we went over already. Did we go? Yeah, we did. JPY. I'm not looking for this to be the reversal. Everyone and their mother has been waiting for the reversal, right? Big time frame. Everybody's waiting for that. There's a bajillion bots that lost their whole butts on this trade. It's done. The accounts are gone. There's no getting it back, right? I am, however, saying 4 hour time frame. Let me zoom back in. Nice impulse, very, very comparable to what we saw on CAD JPY. We've officially came down and made a slightly lower low. We again failed to make a higher high, and now we're kind of sitting at previous lows. So we have yet to break this structure, this whole level here. But again, for risk to reward ratios, we've got a signal. Our next candles did go in the direction we needed them to go. That's a verified trade according to simplicity. According to the way I use simplicity more specifically, right? Again, we want it to be slightly above 76 pips on the 4 hour time frame with as much potential as this trade has. Well worth your risk to reward. So again, from where price is currently at, even to come back and test previous structure, 260, that's way better than your 2 to 1. It's almost 3 to 1. Not a bad way to be. Of course, if we break this low, I'd be waiting for the extreme pullback before we continue any further. If we break here, that's what I'd be waiting for. I would not be selling it beyond here. I'd be waiting for the extreme pullback to continue down to the downside. So that's Euro JPY. GBP odd, we already went over that. Like I said, I'm still looking for this trade. It has yet to take off. So it really hasn't moved as much as we wanted it to move. We've got kind of the formations happening. We've got, there's a harmonic pattern on this on a couple of time frames. There's quite a bit of confluence to say, hey, this is not a bad setup. It's just not moving it. And that could be the currency. How is GBP doing? Since Scott's talking currency strength. And I don't want to pull up all the old ones I have. I want a new one now.
GBP odd, hold on. Pound is sitting almost flat neutral right now. And odd is showing some weakness. That's on the 4 hour.
That would make it push up though. Right?
Yep, it has been pushing up. That's I'm basing that off the last 14 candles, so that's in that range there.
Okay, so currency strength, factored in, which again, I used to use the currency strength with the triple arrow system. As you guys can see, keeping it super simplistic, kind of matching the name, and everything else off of this. I'm still not taking entry just yet. I'm still in my other one. I kind of scaled in and out with my trade manager. But to take an entry as of this week, right? Last week's news is done. Unless we have weeks in between our calls, I'm going to do my best to be diligent about how we calculate pips. So from this specifically, and even Scott just said that GBP is kind of sitting flat. I'm not saying this is a great moment to enter. You can already see these candles are small. News tomorrow. There's some stuff holding this stuff back, particularly the great, US dollar, I know for sure. Waiting for this fractal break though on the 4 hour time frame is too long on a GBP pair. So let me make sure my mouse is not freaking out. Holy cow, you guys, my sky is like pink and orange. Like it just got so bright. My office lit up. It's beautiful. I had to tell you guys so. A little bit of squirrel in there. Okay, back to my computer. That's 70-ish pips. So 70-ish pips, that's too far to say, hey, we're waiting for this break. I'm not in any way, shape, or form advising you to wait on this break, particularly on this pair. So let's plot down a time frame. We've already got a sell signal. We've already kind of sitting at a previous high. We've got an M formation. Again, going for a measured move. Again, tighter stop loss, not bad. Here's a break. We can say, hey, we can take that. When price breaks here, that's only a 10, 11 pip difference. But keep in mind, there's structure. There's these many forms of kind of structure. There's quite a bit of it in between. So how you guys take your entry is going to be totally up to you. When we zoom it out and make it ugly, you can kind of see that a little bit more clearly when my Apple mouse is not irritating everybody. You guys know the trend lines we draw on this is never fun. Never fun. But look at if you're using Wix, which I'm not a big fan of Wix per se, but lots and lots of touches. We broke through, came right back, and we're still sitting above. So if you want the closer kind of entry, take it when it breaks the trend line or take it when it breaks the 1 hour fractal. but don't take the 4 hour fractal on this one because it's a really bad, it's too big of a risk. It's too much. So Scott's got a slightly, different one. Plus he's got the annotate, so his is better with annotate alone because annotate's easier to use on MT4 than the tools are. But either one of those trend lines, the red one and the blue one, when you get the closed candle on the other side, take that trade. Don't wait until it breaks all the way down here. That's just too late, at
The
least for
reason for starting that trend line here is, if you notice, we've got that big bearish candle that comes down. It's immediately followed by a bullish candle that closes right up into that. We get another bearish with another bullish that passes right by it. So they're kind of like wicks on a higher time frame. So this point here would be the body beginning for me. Then I'm lining it up with the bodies here, and that gives us the trend line.
okay. I like that. Thank you, Scott. You guys already know for the most part I would rather use bodies or wicks. I fully support that. Just for MT4 that works. Not bad. Okay, so we got GBP odd. We got a couple more pairs. GBP and JPY. Super simple. Super fun. Let's move this down. Okay, GBP, JPY. Again, a lot of these pairs are comparable, right? They're all correlated. They're all the same JPYs. They're all the same CADs. That's what's moving. Plus, we're avoiding the US dollar because tomorrow there's news. I just don't want the wrong person to see this and be like, oh my goodness, right? And then they don't know how to manage it. And of course, something bad happens. Although odds are those trades will go in your favor. So GBP, JPY, 4 hour signal simplicity. We do get a confirmation. Pairs do start moving in the right direction. We have failed to make a higher high, right? This is a valid signal. Granted, we're sitting at kind of where prices stopped before. Same kind of concept we talked about on GBP odd. We don't want this late break. We can afford it, but we don't want to risk that much. That's just bad management, right? That's bad. That's in the schoolboy. Any indicators that are on this chart are either simplicity or they're in the we the people group. They're in like the super easy groups. So let's pop down to the 1 hour time frame and take a look. 1 hour time frame, this is not that beautiful kind of trend. I'm sure we would see it a little better on the line chart. We would see it a little bit better on the bigger, not even that, we won't see it better. This doesn't give us that perfect trend line that we got on GBP odd. So on this one, your best case scenario would be, okay, if we break below this fractal, we're retesting the 50 now, or if you know another strategy. So if you can use a simplicity on the 15-minute and you get confirmation again on the 15 or the 5, I don't prefer simplicity on the smaller time frames personally. Not to say others have not had success with it, but you do something like that when we reject off of the 50.
Wait. So yeah, of course, I don't know what's on their box.
I muted you, Scott, or somebody. I muted somebody. I don't know who that was. There we go. Did I move my screen?
Nope.
Okay. Did I move it back? This is your line.
What about you want me to remove my line?
That's where you want it, right there?
I think so.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I moved my screen and I wasn't sure if I moved it back exactly.
Yeah, no, this looks good to me. Kind of the same rationale, because we've got all this railroad track sort of action, which gives me my starting place here based off of this wick and kind of a railroad track right up above that. So that looks like a starting place to me. And then it's where that bullish candle comes up to and we take off. That makes for a decent starting place to my eyes. But you could argue for kind of the same start down here, but kind of coming up through here. Because this is just, oops, not that. This is just a big faker move. Just like this is a big faker move. There's great big liquidity grabs going down to pick up orders.
And there's still nothing's happening yet. So nothing. Okay.
Just solidly ranging at present.
So guys, to look for an entry on this, still again, we're looking at this simplicity saying sell both time frames. It is definitely ranging, but we have to know how do you take an entry, right? How can you take an entry if you're not on here? If I'm not on here, mm,
Oh,
these
you could argue that if we get a break that comes down and holds down, comes back up and retests, and then pulls down away from that, that retest could be a that could be good if it doesn't bounce down and bounce immediately back up into range. So that could give you some positive expectancy, kind of doing that retest up in there.
that would be. I see that already even right here. So.
Now that was a gap down and a fill of that gap. And, but basically that's a faker coming down. So I'd be looking for something that sustains down and then comes back and does a retest and then starts moving away.
Thank you. Like the answer, you guys want something documentable and something that can be proven. So that's unfortunately more subjective than I want it to be. Again, you've got the 1 hour fractal. I again would avoid the 4 hour fractal. Not a good idea. Too many pips in between the 4 hour. So you've got the trend line break, like we discussed, like more accurately, Scott mentioned trend line break and the retest. We know that what that looks like if you understand it. 4 hour fractal is a no. That's too many pips away. In this case, especially with that wick, especially with this consolidation. We're not doing that. Look at the huge springs. If we took a break and it sprung back up, that's too big to pay for that. Plus this on a great bitten pair on a 4X. Nah, that's not worth it. You see the potential channel forming. See the
But I like that trend line. But yeah, you're right.
because even if they took this one, and that's kind of mid range of that channel, they would just be coming down to here anyways until they broke here.
However, that's looking pretty darn flaggy to me.
Yeah.
Big impulse and a flag coming off of that. Following a big impulse and a flag. So we'll see.
It's a perfect flag almost. And the springs are to the downside. The springs, the big moves, the impulse moves, the fastest moves are to the downside. We pop back up. Downside, pop back up. Springs mostly are to the downside, which is an indication this might push up a little bit higher before we sell off.
And you look at areas like this where price makes a move down and makes a huge move up. The market makers will move the price away from the area of interest as quickly as possible to trap breakout traders. They're working the bottom.
Because all the breakout traders get mad. I would know. I would definitely know. Okay, so potential setup. How you guys choose to enter this, totally up to you. Please, this is a big maybe. This isn't the maybe baby kind of, you have to treat this with a grain of salt. You need to take the tightest entry. It's a faster moving pair. Not to say it's the most expensive, but you do need to treat this with a grain of salt because it does have a bigger ADR. It is going to push harder against you. GBP, JPY is known as the dragon, obviously not compared to the indices that we trade, but still moves pretty fast and is known to wick you out before it goes the other direction. So you have to plan on that.
It's crazy how much the volatility's collapsed. The ADR on this thing used to be like 120.
What was it before COVID? So 2000.
Yeah, like 120 or so.
I know you're better at historical data, but this used to be huge. And then, of course, it got flat during COVID. This is just now picking back up, and it's still reasonably small. Because my recollection was GBP JPY was 150.
Yeah, the volatility in Forex pairs in general is way, way down.
Yeah, it is. Okay. NZD CAD, guys, this was buy, not ready as my notes. Let's go take a look. So 4 hour time frame. This is the not confirmed one, but I stinking love it. So has a buy signal, 4 hour time frame. It already repainted. It's already gone. We're sitting at the low in terms of like that overbought, oversold, which y'all know I don't do. Not a bad way to be. We're sitting in structure. We're failing to break structure. Based off of candle formations, divergence, and oscillators, we have a lot of reason to say this is ready for a short-term buy. Not saying it's a reversal buy, saying we're ready to get our 100 pips out of it and have a good day. There's a difference. If we break this, then we have some room to stand on in terms of, hey, this is actually a reversal. But the buy I'm talking about is more the pullback, right? We're cashing in on just the pullback. We're cashing in on the breath that the market takes. So 4 hour time frame, not ready. Had a signal, repainted, did not take off. We're sitting pretty close to the lows, which makes this a really tight stop loss, so a whole bunch of potential gain. That's 60 pips on I guess it's not that tight. Pretty tight for the 4 hour time frame though. So 1 hour time frame, let's zoom in. We have a buy signal, huge impulse. This is kind of like that spring to the downside. We took off but failed to kind of break this trend. We failed to make a higher high, pushing back down. And now we're creating the flag pattern, just like we are on a couple of other pairs. Still, I maintain we're breaking above the 50. We've got room to the kind of slower moving average, and we definitely have room to come up to here. Here's my overall analysis. If we break this point, this midpoint, I'm looking for 100 pips from here. So 100 pips from there is, let's see, 88, what is that, 8848? 100 pips to 8848, 8848. That's a 160 pip trade. That's not bad at all. So same concept. We can only go off of what we know. So we can only go off of what not just we know, but the people who are watching this know. So you have a simplicity signal, 1 hour time frame, 4 hour, waiting on it to come back up. We can say, hey, we break this fractal, we're taking this trade, we accept the risk, we accept the good trades and the bad. We don't get overly emotionally invested, we don't freak out, we don't have, fits and everything else that goes with that. We just trade, and we treat it like a checklist, like we do other jobs that we've taken and trained for in college and whatever else. So not a bad trade at all. Looking at this for a buy. USD CAD we went over, and USD Chef. With everything going on in the world, I know a lot of traders who are avoiding Chef altogether. They have decided that Chef is their worst enemy and that they hate this pair and that life sucks. And um, I don't think that way. I don't think any pair is to blame. I think some pairs can really get you if you treat the pair badly. But I don't think it's the Chef, just so we're on the same page. We do have to acknowledge it may react pretty heavily tomorrow. It can react with anything that our presidents say. It will react with anything COVID related and blah, blah, blah. So this is going to be reactive because it's the safe haven. It supposedly was considered, used to be considered, the go-to safe haven for money. But we have cryptos, we have other things now. So this is not nearly as safe haveny as it used to be in times of crisis. And I think people are overlooking that. But that's not from, me to teach or preach on, because I'm not the economic guru. So W formation. We're really close to the bottom. Slow moving pair. Brand new super, simplicity signal. We are making a higher high. We're breaking out on this fractal that we've already broken out from where we got this signal. We've already retested half of this impulse. We've got a lot of reason to say, hey, we're breaking out, right? Not to say it's guaranteed. We are saying that, let's zoom in and make it ugly. Measured move wise. Hey, where's my crosshairs? Measured move wise, we're taking the smaller of the two sides. 120. We have some room, guys. We've got some room from where price is at, all the way from here to here. It's 212 pips with approximately, we'll round up a little bit and say a 70 pip risk. Still better than 2 to 1, right? You're protecting anywhere once you get to one ADR, depending on what time frame you're using. You can use ATR as well. Not a bad trade at all. Now, this will and can react to tomorrow's interest rate nonsense. Do we think it's going to be that different based off of what we're seeing in our housing crisis? Housing market, no crisis involved, just market, although some people are finding it to be a crisis. That was supposed to be funny. Needless to say, we don't see like that's going to be a huge difference tomorrow. They might increase the interest rates. It would be healthy for our economy to do so. It's not going to drastically, move this as much as people think. So it could have a reaction. It doesn't mean it's going to be the gold standard of the move. So that's it. That's all of my trades I have. That's USD CAD, USD Chef, NZD CAD, GBPY, GBP Odd, Euro, UJ, EuroCAD, CAD JPY, odd NZD, odd CAD, and CAD Chef, and we'll go over these in a week. That's literally all I'm going to do, for at least for this group. So, anybody have any questions, comments, announcements? Mr. Scott, how was your dinner? Any pairs specifically that y'all want to look at, or trades you want to go over, not based off of Jenny's golden strategy, but about this or any topic related to Forex that is beginner based? Now's your time. Let's see. Thank you, Jonathan. I'll send you a picture. My daughter sent me a picture from the pool too. It's beautiful. Like it just got so pretty. It was so pretty.
Too bad you're in class. You're gonna have dinner outside.
True. I just had leftovers tonight. I made this amazing Cajun dish. It has like sausage and it's got shrimp. And I made enough for like an army because the kids had all kinds of people over for like the whole week. So I finally, yeah, that's what I ate tonight. It was delicious though. I promise. It was amazing.
Asian dish, huh?
Yes, it was Cajun with like the shrimp and the sausage and all the bell peppers, and of course I sneak other vegetables like zucchini in there and tons of all onions and tomatoes, garlic because you know we're Italian. You can't cook without garlic. It's like against the law. So okay, guys, those are our trades. Anybody who's having any issues with simplicity, where do you, schoolboy? Where do you get that indicator from? Everything is in the groups. And yeah, that'll about do it. So.
And Schoolboy was asking about the ADRs. This guy over here, that is called Bar Alert. So just look for it in the group.
You'll find it, I promise. It's one of my favorite. Totally free too. It has other cool tools, but I pretty much just use that one. But all right, guys. Well, in that case, I am going to go ahead and keep these calls kind of short. That's a lot of trades. I would beg and kind of plead with you guys. For those of you guys who are having success in the scalping group, great. But now I would ask that you maybe find some kind of swing trading strategy. It doesn't have to be this one. It can be this one, and give it a try. So pick your 1 or 2 days here and there where you pick your trade, pick your management, and then give yourself that time frame, that couple of months to see what kind of ROI you can return. You know what kind of ROI. Yes, I said that right, but you can see in a few months what kind of risk to reward you will see, how many pairs you would have lost or won had you managed them accordingly and stopped over trading. If you weren't on your chart every London and Asian and New York and noon and what about this and some guy posted about gold, and if you weren't doing that, you see what kind of results you can have in your swing trading, because swing trading is super easy. It's got higher risk in some ways, but if you have the right lot size, it's not any higher risk. It's the same.
Actually, I have a question with that swing trading. Trading. How do you normally manage your swing trades on your accounts? Do you have like one account per swing trade, or do you manage multiple pairs on one account? Like, what do you usually do that in that regards?
Okay, so Jonathan, as you know, we've got a different setting for our scalping. I usually use the 15 and the 30 on that in terms of management time frame, right? I use separate accounts for everything. I've got like that kind of daily strategy that I'm using in a separate account by itself, where I literally took and scaled in or scaled out of a trade throughout the whole year, kind of using huge time frames, and that's in its own account. And then my swing trade account is its own account. And for right now, that swing trade account only has simplicity trades. It doesn't have anything else. I go back and forth, and we talk about it. I'm guilty too of like messing with my management, because you can't prove what you can't duplicate, right? So I love the 4 hour because, especially considering I'm doing other things, I'm working on other things, I don't want to wonder what's going on with the 1 hour. But there is an advantage, obviously, to using the 1 hour, because then your stop loss is going to be a little tighter, but you also collected less. So let's see. Let's go to odd. We know odd USD CAD did trade. Let's take a look at how that would play out. It would just this is I think reasonably positive. This had the golden kind of, and this would be based off of current. So we'll load it just so we can see it on here. I have a different setting, but you would use way looser settings if it will allow me to. I knew that. So if we took this entry here, you can see kind of, even with what the strategy, the settings you already know, you can see where you'd be kind of scaled out, where you'd hit take profits and where they wouldn't even come up at all. But these settings, like we talked about in class this morning, involve really rounding up this versus having it kind of stable at the 10. So you can see right here, that's 30. Let's see if this changes anything. Nope, it stays the same. So escape. The biggest key in terms of how we're managing it, you can't have all the trails and all the exits so close. Your best bet is to keep your, at least what I've found, I'm going to hit escape right here. So if I took this entry, I need to have my stop loss here and scale out. And when I scale out, especially like on simplicity on these 1 hour and 4 hour trades, particularly with simplicity, if I was taking a golden strategy entry on the 4 hour, I would manage it differently. I would manage it with the same settings I'm using, but I would have it managed on that time frame. But on simplicity, we know that usually when we get the signal, it's a reversal based signal. There's almost always a pullback. We know that once we get the breakout from that, again, it's a little different and it's not enough to really to kind of catch that whole move. So if you had to pick your settings, I would say stop loss is that structure. Turn off your exit and turn off your trail until you hit sizable ATRs. So right now we know my take profit is 7.7 on this one. So you maybe don't turn on any of your exit or your trail until you hit like 5, which means even in this case would have knocked you out here and you still would have never hit your take profit. But as long as, or we can, talk about, maybe Scott can probably talk a little bit better about the whole using this stop loss that's based off of stop weight V level. And then they take profit where it's kind of like they're bouncing off of it. So they're equal to the risk to reward ratio. I know Scott knows what I'm talking about, but y'all probably don't. That's how I would do it, is use any of those things. Otherwise, I'm kind of using the same settings that we went over last time, and I'm using the golden just on a different time frame. Turn off your
You
exit
know,
trail.
when it comes down to it, the way that Jenny is scalping in the scalping group is more like swing trading on lower time frames,
He's not wrong.
because you're just trying to capture, the bigger moves, possibly this, by setting all of your levels like those. So you're trying to capture all of that. And so that is a swing trade. Then, we can do it on a 1 minute, on a 5 minute, or whatever. It doesn't matter what time frame it is, as far as whether it's a scalp or a swing trade. It's how many candles are you staying in is really kind of the definition of that. And, you can scalp on a daily chart to say, I'm just looking to get a quarter of my expected daily move and get out. That's a scalp on a daily.
But so, guys, I want to go back to, we mentioned that this morning, and it's a little off topic, but we can hang out. So once the groups and the websites are all stabilized and the tools are accessible, I would like to try to really compound again, like we were 1 minute, 5 minute kind of mentality. But we all know having people keep up with that 5 minute, guys, people are struggling to keep up with the 15 minute. And that 15 minute move, for example, today moved like 400 pips, and people still got in so late, did not protect it, it reversed it. And I don't know, it's up like 800 or it's up some amount of pips. I don't know, because I had more than one position, but I'm talking about now specifically this morning. I want to get back to that 1 minute kind of scout mentality, but for now, to try to teach and first off, have the tools used to value. Secondly, help the vast majority, right, of people. I don't want to discriminate in terms of, we talked about that also this morning. I want to work with men and women. I want to work with every, kind of person, not just certain, people who are super experienced, the people who are more professional, less professional, or richer or poorer. I want to work with all the peoples. And those peoples need all the helps. So we're trying. If you have any advice, again, I'm pretty open to it, but pretty open to it. Does that answer your
One other thing too, Scott, on that ATM, when we're managing multiple accounts, we can only have the ATM running on one account, whatever account is active at the time. Is that correct, or am I wrong in that?
Well, you can have ATM running on multiple accounts. You'll have to have them on different platforms.
Right.
Now, you can set up, even if there really isn't any difference between one MT4 and another. It's just what account you're logged into is what makes the difference. So you can have, you can download platforms from all kinds of different people, and you can have just a whole bunch of Hugo's Way accounts or AAFX accounts or whatever you want to use. And you just log into them with the different platforms, and that'll take care of it. But ATM will manage, if you're managing all trades, it's going to manage everything on the current account, not on the current broker, on the current account on that broker.
Got it. That makes sense. That makes sense. And yes, Jenny, thank you as well. That answered the question at management and the account use as far as utilizing your accounts. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, there was another guy. His name started with a K. He had his hand raised. I don't want to leave without honoring you. I don't want to mispronounce your name either. So if you got your question, come on out for a second. Or anybody else, this is your moment. So K K K K K.
I didn't have my hand raised.
Eric, I know it was you. He was picking on me. Okay. Well, if Melanie, I think it was Melanie in the group who asked about the fractal strategy. I'm going to make a separate video on that just entirely, just so it's easy, because honestly, it would take like 10 minutes. And now that I am slightly more proficient, I am not claiming to be good, but proficient at recording these. I will get another video on that. And just, it's really simple. And people have had tons of success. And all the tools that we used to grow small accounts into large numbers with that fractal bake strategy are all right there. So they're all in the group.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Remembering
You sound like R2D2.
We would call you Donna because that's what she
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
There you are. We heard you now.
I'm just walking in the house. Yeah. I was saying thanks for remembering my questions.
Yeah, I'm trying. I promise I'm trying. I write them down, but my desk looks like a sticky note manufacturer, company. So work in progress.
Yeah, you're fine. I do have one question for you though. So I have a MacBook and I am gonna get the VPS, but the link that was put inside of the Telegram group, for some reason, like it's not pulling up as an affiliate or whatnot, so it'll come up under you. What's coming up is like different sites. So I don't know if I have the right one. The one that I was gonna do is, I think it's called VPS. Hold on, let me get my computer really quick. I'm on the phone. I think it's VPS Forex.net. And I don't know if that's the right one.
So let's find out together. You and me. Ready? I just tried to fix this too. So I'm scrolling down. Of course, it's lagging because I've got a lot of brokers up on this, and it only lags when I'm zooming. So VPS, let's click on it. Open this. There's my email. So here's what I'll do. I will literally, wait, you're in the Super Easy group, huh?
Yes. Excuse me.
Are you in the other group too?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm in the group, Super Easy group.
Are you in the membership group too?
Say it one more time, Jenny.
Are you in the membership group too?
I'm in a membership group, but I'm not in the scalping group. I'm not in your group yet.
Okay, gotcha. If you're okay, well, there's the link. I put it in the Super Easy group, as you guys can see. It's right there. And if nothing else, a lot of people. So let me be transparent. There are other companies. There are good companies and bad companies. I just worked with a handful of them, and these guys, here's why I'm with them. They're slightly more expensive, but they're also very reliable. If anything happens with my VPS, they find all of my codes and all of my logins and all of my MT4s. They clean it up, they folder it, and they fix it. They download my MT4s and then they give it back to me. And that to me is something you can't pay for. So that whole concept, people for that, PFT, having people for that, that's why I work with them, is because I've got people for that, for the stuff that I am not as smart as like Derek and Scott in terms of Windows. Y'all hear me on my Mac all day long smiling because I love Apple. I don't know none of the rest of it. So
Yeah.
That's why.
Okay.
And there are That's my choice.
And so this is it. This is the website. Yep, it is. And the best one to use, would it, you think the high frequency? Because Lucas was saying that's the one that he uses.
Well, wait, Lucas is also claiming that he's doing EAs. So if he's using EAs, he needs way more than you. So
Oh,
you can almost definitely start off with their most basic package. You can have probably optimally speaking, depending on how clean you keep your stuff, probably about four, MT4s on there, running pretty well without any bog downs. You do need to clean them every Friday, which we all kind of hit and miss with that, but you need to clean them out, clean out the logs, reboot the system, clear the cookies, and clean it up on the weekend. But you can run four MT4s with management and EAs on there pretty well. But if you're building and coding and doing the other stuff that I don't know about, you're gonna need more than what the basic package has.
okay, yeah, because I don't know anything about the coding or any of that. And even like scrubbing and cleaning my system on Fridays. Are there tutorials on like YouTube to do that? I don't know anything about that. Like this is my first time ever having a Mac.
Well, first off,
Also, so
No profanity on this call, ma'am.
you should have been cleaning out your MT4 on a Windows too. Actually, on a Windows, it's even more important because you and I both know they're not so good. Not Derek don't know that, but you and I know that. So,
They find those viruses, Windows.
right? We don't
okay.
have viruses. But I think Derek has a link. Somebody does, or you can Google it. You Google how to clean up your MT4. It'll come up. It's a YouTube video. It's like legit. It's not even that long. You're gonna clean out your logs. You're gonna clean out your history. Make sure a couple things you can do to speed up your computer is go to. Hold on, we got some background noise. Go to here. Go to options. Turn down these candles. You don't need a 500,000 candles. Okay.
Most important thing.
Um, this is one of the most important things you can do. Your brokers are all downloaded with like a 500,000 candles. That's a lot of data tick for tick you need. Same thing with over here. You don't need all these symbols. Less is more. When you're not bogged down with choices and the power it takes, take off everything you don't need to trade. This is more pairs than I have on any other broker, and the only reason I have this many on here is for you guys. Otherwise, I keep all that off. It just takes up too much room. And then
Okay.
the rest of that video will teach you pretty sufficiently, way better than me.
Okay. Thank you.
Jenny just showed you what's the most important things.
See, those are important. And Scott would know because he's the smarter one, I promise.
Thanks you both.
You're welcome. All right, guys, that's the couple of pairs. I don't see Mr. K coming up, so I am going to go ahead and end this. Please, guys, this is recorded. I know we can't draw lines on every pair like we do in our morning classes to prove this, that, and another, but we can kind of pretty consistently use the ADR to know that how many pips this moved past a fractal. We can visually see structure to say, hey, what if you took some swing trades? Could you make it work? So I hope that you follow this. I hope that you allow this simplicity or whatever your swing trade strategy is to hopefully make you that 10, 20, 30 grand, depending on your account size, by the end of the year. So cheers to that. Otherwise, I will see you guys on Thursday morning. Take care and God bless.
Good night,
Bye
Jen.
bye. Thank you.
Good night, guys.